Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. France, Uruguay. France are off to the World Cup semifinals. What did they do right? Did Uruguay struggle without Edinson Cavani? And can France actually go all the way and win the World Cup? Don't worry, here at the interviews, we've got you covered. So on this edition of the interviews, we're going to break down how France beat Uruguay. So France, Uruguay, the big question heading into this match would be, how would France break Uruguay down? Could they do it in open play? Could they get behind this deep Uruguayan defense? And would Edinson Cavani's absence affect Uruguay in terms of getting goals? When we break it down, we got France in a 4-2-3-1. They got Giroud up front. They were missing Matuidi, so Tolisso slid in with Griezmann. And they had Mbappe on the right, and then in midfield, Pogba, Conte. For Uruguay, they went with Stuani up front with Luis Suarez. Then they kept the diamond, so they went with Tyrrell at the back. They had Vecino, and they had Hernandez shuttling, and they had Bentancur at the top of the diamond. What went right? What went wrong? We look at it. For France, initially, it was a bit of a struggle to really get them going in terms of they were getting pressed pretty well by Uruguay in the sense that they weren't letting them really play out of the back. They had Stuani stepping. They had Suarez leading from the front. They had Stuani stepping to Conte or the deepest midfielder, and then they'd have Bentancur step to Pogba for the most part. In midfield, they were trying to get Tyrrell to stay with Griezmann. That didn't really work out. Giroud's movement was pulling people out. There was a lot of space for Griezmann to really float around, but he didn't really affect the play in open play. They had Lagzalt tight on Mbappe. That was key. Tolisso was there to ensure that Tabarez couldn't get forward, and he did a really good job of that. And we'll get to that in a second. And then it was about the fullbacks. But that's how the match started. You'd expect Uruguay to drop a bit deeper from the get-go, but they were pushing forward to try and stop France from building out of the back. So when we look at the key element of the game, the first one has to be Mbappe, in the sense that they were trying to stop him from doing what he did to Argentina. Obviously, it was very unlikely due to the fact that Uruguay wouldn't concede so much space and they'd be a bit more organized. And like I said, that's how they were pressing from the front. And when they did drop deeper, it was Bentancur sliding in. It was Hernandez sticking to the right. It was Vecino sticking to the left. And Mbappe was the key man because in the sense that Tolisso didn't want Tabarez to get forward, and Lagzalt didn't want to risk getting forward because of Mbappe's pace. So he stuck with Mbappe. We saw in the earlier stages Mbappe just get the ball on the touchline, get away from Lagzalt and Vecino, and drip forward to shift the ball to the other flank. For the most part, they struggled to really get Mbappe at his best in those spaces to run him behind. There was one move where Pogba shifted out to the right, and he was able to play a pass in behind Lagzalt into the right half space, and you saw Mbappe charge onto the ball and pull it back, but no one was there to get onto it. But he was their key player. Lagzalt was given the responsibility of sticking with him, and for the most part, he didn't do a bad job. So when we look at the other aspects, it's Luis Suarez again, him and Stuani, what went right with them? Suarez was doing a great job of committing defenders into fouls, forcing him to foul him, getting Conte to step over him. There was one play in particular where a long ball was played over, and it was Conte who jumped over him. He wasn't able to get on the ball. Then it was Stuani and Tabarez for the first time. And this kind of summed everything up for Uruguay. 2v1 situation. Stuani plays the ball away from Tabarez, overhit, and that kind of summed things up for them in the sense that they couldn't really get anything going. Suarez was always the man, holding the ball up, linking play with his teammates to get them going forward. And specifically Stuani in particular, it's just not the same combination as Suarez and Cavani, where, you know, if Suarez drops deep, Cavani's making the run in behind or peeling out onto the wide areas so that Suarez can get him the ball. We weren't having that there. A lot of the times, you'd have Suarez have the ball, chest it into half space, flick it on into half space, but nothing really came of it, and Uruguay lacked any offensive threat in that sense. So it almost became a game of set pieces solely in the sense that Uruguay, as the game wore on, dropped a bit deeper, stayed very narrow, and what happened here is that when you play this narrow, you have Mbappe coming in with Lagzalt, you have Griezmann trying to float in, trying to get those intricate passes in, and then you have Tolisso, who is normally a central midfielder by trade, tucking in as well. There's going to be lots of space for two players, and those are the wide players who are getting out there. And there were, because at the same time, Uruguay were trying to ensure that they weren't overrun in midfield, so that diamond became a flat four. And what happened was that with the wide players tucking in, that left space in these wide areas to really get them going. Hernandez did a good job of shutting out Hernandez, and Hernandez didn't really get any crosses into the box, but it was Pavard who got the best crosses of the game. There was one that was looped into Giroud. He won his battle, nodded it back into the path of Mbappe, who had time to bring it down. He nodded it over the net. Again, because everyone's so narrow, he gets another cross into the box. He gets it in for Mbappe, hits off his foot, and just rolls through the 6-yard box. The problem with this France side is they have players, attacking midfielders, wing fullbacks in this sense, in Sidibe and Benjamin Mendy, who could probably break in and get those crosses into the 6-yard box, and that is pivotal. These Hernandez and Pavard aren't the greatest crossers, and France could have made more of this opportunity by starting those players and getting them to deliver dangerous crosses into the box. But Uruguay were pretty comfortable in that sense. They weren't really being troubled from open play. Crosses were getting into the box. Mbappe was being shackled out of the game. Griezmann and Giroud couldn't get it going. Pogba wasn't doing much. But the game was obviously decided by a set piece. You have the free kick from Griezmann into the box. Varane with a great header. Minutes later, a free kick is also into the box for Uruguay, and it's saved by Lloris, so that was a big opportunity. And then Godin fired his point-blank range effort over the net. The second half, Uruguay trying to get back into the game. There was one ploy that they often try to do, was as France dropped a bit deeper, more so in their 4-4-1-1, you could say, with Tolisso kind of tucking in, Griezmann and Mbappe holding the flanks. They had a lot of play where they were getting long balls, Godin in particular, stepping forward, getting long balls into the fullbacks. There was one that was not into Suarez. He flicked it back into Stuani, but his pullback was blocked. There was another one from Godin where he lobbed it into Lagzalt, fell to Suarez, who turned. Bentancur pushed forward, and then Bentancur slid it out wide, but that cross didn't make it through. But that was going well for Uruguay until Muslera's error from a Griezmann shot from distance fell in 2-0. Uruguay put their heads down, and the game was kind of over there. But when we break it down, 1, Uruguay missed Cavani. Suarez was doing well linking play, but he didn't have that support up front, so that was key. 2, the fullbacks were shackled out of the game, and for Uruguay, Caceres couldn't get forward because of Tolisso. Laxalt was scared of Mbappe to get forward, to let him go, so he couldn't get forward. 3, France didn't really show us how they could break teams down from open play, but this was a solid performance in the sense that they dominated possession. They got their fullbacks forward. The crosses weren't that good, but they never looked like they were in real danger. They eventually got their goals via set pieces, and now they're on to the semifinals where they meet Belgium, and they don't look like they are going to be fazed by that. This was a big win for their confidence to knock out a Uruguay side that a lot of people questioned whether they could break down, and going forward with Matuidi coming back, they should be better against a Belgian side that will probably be a bit more open. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think Uruguay would win if Cavani was playing? Can France get better? Should they stick with this system? Meet me in the comments below. Don't forget I upload videos every day, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And that was your daily dose of the InnerViews.